You are live.
Welcome to the September 20th, 2023 meeting of the Lyman Planning Board. This meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to an executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and look at all the exhibits that are offered. If the board votes to an executive session, the reason for the same shall be stated. Please notify the board chair if you have difficulty seeing or hearing. This meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion, which will be forwarded within 7 days. The board works for a prepared agenda, and we consider tonight's items in the following order. Roll call, then we have Dana Gagnon, 18 Stallion Lane, Marcus Pond Rentals, Mary Morning, 382 Goodwills Mills Road, Rustic Dreams, site plan review consideration, CEO updates, minutes, and old business and mail. Well, let's take a roll call tonight.
Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Joe Wagner, 26 Day Road.
Roger T2, 357 Walker Road.
Cecile Dupuy, 53 Chapel Shores Road.
Bill Single, 8 Single Lane.
Kevin Bear, 64 Buggin Pond Road.
And Kelly's absence, I'm sorry, whose turn is it?
I don't know.
Both Bill and Cecile voted at the meeting in August because of varying
Right, there was-
situations.
Mm.
So,
It's no big deal.
and
You can hear from
Cecile,
me anyway.
Cecile was a voting member of the meeting before that,
Okay.
so.
Doesn't matter.
I move that Bill Single be recognized as a full voting member for tonight.
I'll second that. All in favor, vote
Aye.
Bill.
But Cecile, I remember.
Remember? Okay.
Mr. Gagnon,
It's the notes from their site work they did. You'd like to
We didn't do
Mhm.
it. Yeah, wasn't much to it. Yeah. I didn't see any particular issues from the sidewalk.
Not at all.
Mr. Gagnon explained what he wanted to do.
all right, and we got a copy of the survey.
We got a copy of the survey.
So that's good.
Um,
I think that's the only thing we're lacking. Oh,
You got a copy of my inspection license?
Yes.
Right, yeah, we do. We do, that's in the package, I think.
No, I just had one.
Well, you just have one copy, anyway, we've seen it though. Discussed. Let's see. Well, with that survey, that appears to make, are we missing anything for the
And
application?
lighting.
I'm sorry?
I have lighting down here. Site plan lighting, showing the lighting.
And the only other thing I saw on here was a site plan drawn to scale not smaller than 1 inch equals 40 feet. And I personally don't think we need it because nothing is changing there.
I agree.
No, he's not, I think this one would appear to me to be perfectly adequate. I'm not sure what the scale is on it, but,
The building exists already.
Yes.
I mean, it shows all the structures.
Yep.
Shows where the creek is. There's a creek there, right?
Yep. Swan Pond Creek.
Yeah, I don't see any. Looks pretty,
We got
pretty complete
Garage
to me.
either.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And you're not changing any lighting on your garage, you're gonna leave it the same as it is, or
Lighting, well,
on the outside?
if I do go forward and put an office, I'll put a floodlight out front there too, as well.
Right now, this is the
That's the main light, I mean, there's
main
a,
light,
yeah,
yeah, we had those.
and that's where the vehicles will enter
yes.
for the inspection.
lights. Yeah,
I'm sure your neighbors won't complain.
No. You don't-
nobody is gonna see it.
So I'm gonna make a motion that the application is complete.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of the application is complete?
Aye.
Aye.
So we're gonna set a public hearing.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah. No, wait a minute, not so fast.
Well,
Okay, public hearing. According to our sort of approved, we gotta notify the CEO, the select board, and the ZBA 20 days in advance.
okay.
That's what nails us. I mean, not nails us, but that's what pushes it out. And now, do we have a list of, we probably do, but do we have a list of abutters?
Shown on,
Yes.
Because we have to notify the abutters 20 days in advance by certified mail. And then publish a notice 2 weeks in advance on the town website, bulletin board sign, and the library, as it shows there. So, and then once in a newspaper, 2 weeks in advance. So basically, it pushes us to, I would say, the second meeting in October.
18th would be the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a long time, but it's just the way the rules are for notification, and it's what's in the ordinance, and we have to, I mean, and obviously we want to, but we have to follow the ordinance. We don't have any choices there, so.
So you wanna set the public hearing for that night, 6 o'clock?
I would think so, wouldn't you?
And we'll put them on right after.
Right afterwards, that would be, I think.
That'll be your last step, I hope.
Hope unless something comes up, somebody could make a comment at the public hearing is a public event, of course. And a butter or a member of the public could raise a question possibly that would require some further looking, but I mean, just depends on who shows up and what they say. We don't have any knowledge of anything, but you never know.
Yep, no, it's fine.
So basically what you do, you come in here, I don't know how many people will be here. Might be one, there might be 20, but you'll just explain your project, what you're gonna do. Pretty simple, then we ask them for questions and you get to answer them if
Okay,
there's any questions.
it's fine.
Then we'll schedule to come to the meeting after and hopefully we can wrap it up.
All right.
yeah, one thing that may come up is placing a sign out on the corner of Stallion and Clark's Woods. But just from what I can think of in terms of the dimensions of state inspection signs, I think we're A-okay. They should fall into 1014-1 in our zoning ordinance.
So if I was to put a sign right at the end of the driveway,
Yeah. I thought you were kind of,
it's opened right up as you're pulling in.
yep.
Yeah,
There's a size restriction.
Yeah, you'll have to get a permit for the sign from Brenda, and there's a size restriction, but as Joe says, what you're gonna put out there is gonna fall well within it. Well, it looks like it will, so.
Yeah.
it should.
All set.
So we're all set, and we'll see you on the
18th.
18th at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. How was your hunting trip?
Is that made out to the town now?
Yeah.
I'm not fond of rattlesnakes, cottonmouths. No. Get stuck in the blind with wasps.
Yeah, it will sound like a good time, but
Yeah.
I suppose if you grow up around it, you'd be used to it.
Up with 102, 98% humidity.
Oh,
That's
Please visit, I wouldn't want to live there. Well, the other guys are a little.
it was just as hot here as it was where he was.
Yeah, probably.
Well, we don't have so many biting.
No, we don't have birds like that. Am I up next?
Yes, you are. You are up next.
Okay.
Too many folders.
Yeah, I got so much crap I can't find. Last time we talked. When did we talk to you last?
3 weeks, 4 weeks ago,
Yeah,
something like that.
Sidewalk.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, 8:30.
I think it should have a folder. Wait, Joe, if you want to go another.
Plus, here's what I got. Got the series of email exchange,
Yeah.
some narrative explaining the operations of the camp.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's what we were requesting, just some sort of narrative of the operations of the camp.
Yep.
The sidewalk,
And we did a sidewalk, had a nice setup up
see
there.
how everything is configured.
Thank you.
So I'm just curious, because this has been an ongoing thing. Do we need to follow a public hearing with this? And I don't,
I don't believe you, I don't know why you would.
Right, because it's grandfathered, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and,
we'll call it an existing use.
Non-conforming existing.
I think it's pretty concerning.
Yeah.
Well, it is, it's
Yeah.
very, it's a
Yeah.
very nice setup. It's very clean. You got some nice bathrooms there, a couple nice cabins, nice picnic area,
Chaperoning for the kids.
chaperoning for the kids.
We try to make it nice.
You do.
So what do we want to do? Do we want to issue a notice of decision?
I
mean-
wouldn't think so.
Well, I
Then
think
he
you
has
should
an
have
official
something-
permit. No, he
Correct.
has an official permit that really doesn't expire unless he changes the use.
Well, the only,
And that's, the only time it would ever be changed is if we sold the place.
Right.
That'd be it.
In
And
that
we aren't planning
case,
on doing that.
they would have to
My
come
dad
back.
is 92, and
It,
we just had hospice come in, so. But he's still doing okay. I'm plugging along.
it seems to me the notice of decision ought to, I mean, so here, I'm just trying to think here. We want to issue something that delineates what the existing uses are, so that in case the applicant wants to add a use, and he can look at his thing and say, okay, this is something, it's not on my list, so if I want to do this, I want to, I don't know, open up a jet ski place on the pond or something, which is highly unlikely, but
Nude bathing, probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. That might, well, never mind, we won't go there. But- So anyway, then there'd be a list of stuff, and he say, okay, well, I'm authorized for these things, but if I do something else, then I've got to come back and apply for it. So that's sort of what, but it's going to be a little different because we don't necessarily have to go through the 16 standards, I don't think, for this. But we just have to write up a,
I mean, he's got 2 cabins there.
Yeah.
You have 10 sites, I can't remember. No 10 sites.
no tent
But the
sites.
thing is how do you write it up for people coming in to swim? I mean, you can't.
Need to pick a use from the table and apply it.
If you call it a recreation area,
What's a,
That would
that
cover
was
it.
pre-existing,
Right.
that would pretty well cover it.
there's
Because I
something in
mean,
our,
if you listed everything and forgot something,
yeah,
then that could create a real,
Hardship.
yeah, and we don't want to do that.
no, we're
But
certainly
if
not.
it's a recreation area,
Yeah.
supervised, and it conforms with the use and standards
Mhm.
and can continue.
Number 23 on the land use table in the shoreline zone.
We're
There's
showing.
public and private recreation areas involving minimal structural development. Close.
Yeah.
That's really close.
Hey,
Number
In the
23,
definitions.
what page you on?
page 13.
I think, the cabins really, they really be, under like Airbnb, and we have no jurisdiction over that, so I don't think that's what you're addressing
No.
Right, and Airbnb is almost, it's not seasonal,
at this point.
right? Usually that's a year round.
Correct.
Well, it'd be very cold.
Right.
So I think it's the uses that you're looking on that, were on that narrative, and maybe, I think maybe the notice of decision could be just a list of the findings of fact, like we always do.
Yes,
And then maybe something just as simple that, acknowledging the uses as outlined on that document. You know, we can date the document and say, document submitted such and such a date, that would be part of the record.
the document that they submitted.
Right, we can make that an
narrative about-
addendum maybe, so that
Sounds
gets
good.
recorded as well.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then just the statement that going forward, any changes in use would, be, brought to the planning board for consideration.
Mhm.
I think it could just be that simple.
Okay,
I think that would be the best.
yes,
It's
Keep it
really just
simple.
getting it recorded and
right.
Brief.
And under the categories, do you think that this would most best qualify as a recreation facility, given our definitions?
Well, you want to do,
You can
That's on
allude-
page
I think you can
75.
allude to that, I don't think you can
And
require.
zoning
it.
ordinance,
It's
zoning
random.
ordinance.
I
And
think
just
that
to
can fall
classify,
under
just to
findings of
classify.
fact,
Okay,
that it corresponds with the land use chart number
That's-
23.
I like that.
Yeah.
well, in the shoreline, that's what you're, in the shoreline, because that's, we're in the shoreline. Yeah.
I did have all my stuff, Joe.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's the closest one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would work fine.
Who's going to write this?
I vote no.
Nah, what- maybe Cecile could take a crack at this
Take
one.
a shot at it.
I mean, I'll be happy to assist.
I second that.
I can
Pass
work
the
with
buck.
Jody on that.
Yeah, because this one's going to be a little bit unusual because it's doesn't follow the exact format.
Right. Well, if we're gonna list the 16 standards, we need to
Go.
vote on them.
But we need to go through those. That's,
There's no application there, so I don't think that applies.
I don't think
No,
we do where it's
don't need to.
existing.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No.
I just think the findings of fact that
Yeah.
he is the property owner,
Right.
that it falls into this zone, that, the land use chart allows this use in this zone, just,
basic, and then list or attach the applicant's listing of existing uses,
and then
Which-
just state your conclusion.
documents,
Right.
what he has submitted.
Because I have 2 separate lots there.
Right.
I have the back lot and plus the front lot.
And I think the lot in question is the lakeside lot,
Yeah.
not the other side.
Yeah.
In the other sides.
Yeah, I think the simpler the better, but as long as we list his,
I
his,
think we're better off to cover both.
Okay.
That way, he's got his rental cabins on the other one, the back. This way it's all encompassing.
Okay. So in the notice of decision, a statement is gonna be in there that the planning board has decided, right?
Well, we can make an official vote, but I don't know
How to
how to
state
make a
it?
motion, right?
Do we want to, well,
So you can make the vote, make it a negative vote. So say that the property before us is not in violation of any of our regulations.
That's probably a good point.
That way we can write up the notice of decision
Yeah,
and we can look at it, make sure it's what we want.
and just do it in that format. That way you don't have to be particular and it leaves, as Don says, a little wiggle room.
yeah,
So,
Not too much.
motion? Yeah.
Can I just suggest, instead of saying that it's not in violation, I would just say that the sidewalk and your deliberation reveal that you feel there are no violations.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a better
violations, yeah. I agree with that. That's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
I think I know what he said.
So we'll get
I'm
the
in
notice
favor.
of decision written up.
Yep.
And we'll get it signed and we'll make sure you get a copy of it. So you'll
Excellent.
be 100% legal.
Now, is that something I need to register?
He should file that, shouldn't he? Or does he have
We
to?
send it.
You
Be
send it?
patient.
Yep.
Sometimes it
Oh, yeah.
takes
Takes a bit.
a bit to get it all, because it's a legal document, so
Yep.
we have to make sure the words are right.
No problem.
And
Super.
You do have a nice setup up there. I was very
Thank you.
impressed with that.
Thank you.
Very
Been a lot of work,
well
but,
done.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and making it right.
In terms of the narrative, maybe we want to look at the email
The
that
email,
Bonnie LaChance sent, because that's a pretty good description of the activities.
What else
Yes.
we got here?
So maybe reference that document.
Yep.
I can just reference the email. I don't have
think
to.
so, the date.
um,
Yeah. I think so. I mean, you could even attach that, make it an addendum. if you want.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that'll do
It's
that.
on file here.
Right.
I don't know if I have Mary Morning, but I do have Mary Morning.
And we have the amendments, to the original notice of decision from Mary Moore.
Yeah, it's in here, isn't it?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
I printed out the one that
Brilliant.
John did up with his amendments highlighted, just so you can see what he did. And you can
Yeah,
find it out amongst yourselves.
Did we get any feedback from the owners?
Oh,
I didn't send it to him because
And
Brenda had
that's what
some
happened
comments she
to-
wanted to make
Yeah,
on it
okay.
first.
Yep.
I mean, I think that people.
But did we, I think we voted on it already, didn't we, Mary?
last time?
I think we already, I thought we voted
Well,
on it.
it says here is that voted on September 20th.
Yeah, yeah, this,
You're very cognitive.
oh, that's wrong, obviously. No, hold the phone. Aha.
Oh, Mary Morning.
The,
that's
the
right,
reason it
voted in.
says voted on September 20th is because that's today's meeting.
Yeah.
And the anticipation of the writer of this was that if this is a revision, but it's a draft, so that if we vote to accept this, then this thing is ready to go. What, after,
So it's gonna have to be voted on today.
yeah,
Okay,
that was my thought.
Yep.
That was my thought.
Yep.
And,
Makes sense to me.
and the only thing else, I did put a number under findings of fact, number 14, that we did receive additional information and documentation from the applicants at the meeting on September 6th. And then we added the wording there that Joe had came up with that was to sort of expand or to put down what the understanding was of individual studios for artists, craftsmen, and makers, artists, craftsmen, and makers. So that was, and then the rest of it, the only other change that was necessary really was over on 14, which is on page 4, the information regarding the fire protection. And that was just the wording that, I think Joe came up with that too, didn't you?
Maybe.
I think so. And what else? And then we took out a condition of approval, I think about the one about the sprinkler system.
Yep.
And we added a new number 4.
Yep.
Which was trying to identify the uses that were appropriate. We said, in the event that a studio to be rented for a purpose that does not conform to the activities of an artist, craftsman, or maker, the applicants will inform the planning board, Lyman Electrical Inspector, State Fire Marshal, and Fire Chief of the Goodwin Mills Fire Department of this proposed use for review by and approval from each governmental entity. So, I mean, I don't, and, so that was changes. So it's pretty straightforward. Really, the major thing we did was take out the requirement for having them repair the sprinkler system, which would be extremely expensive because that thing is probably in horrible shape. But that's what they agreed to originally.
Right.
But this seems like a reasonable compromise, but I don't know. I think we ought to ask Brenda if the wording will satisfy her with respect to issuing permits, because that's the key here. We can write everything we want, but we want to make sure it's appropriate.
I'm going to come up here, and I
Sure.
don't usually, but I'm afraid I might have a lot to say.
Oh,
And I'm sorry.
it's okay. Great.
I'd like to say first that my job is to enforce your decisions, not to interpret them. So I think I need more direction on the decisions that you made. And one of the examples, and I think the category you came up with was crafters, makers, and something.
Artists, craftsmen, and makers.
Right. And my concern is that's a category that's not anywhere in this ordinance. It's not on the land use chart. It's not, it is. So I think we need to be very definitive about that. And an example I'd like to give to you is that I'm nervous. Can you tell?
Why? Why you been?
One of an example that came to me, and I at the last meeting I was desperately thinking of an example because is that our culture right now is very preoccupied with craft beers. You see it everywhere. Everyone's doing it. It's a big deal. That's craft. It's also brewing beer, which isn't allowed in the residential area.
Mhm.
You have two entities that have spent a lot of time, a lot of money entering into contract zoning so that they could do the brewing. So I feel like this isn't anything, the property owner has not said to me that he intends to do that, but I feel like it falls into this category. So are we opening up a can of worms that later on is going to really come back and bite us hard? So when I look down through your land use table, it's really interesting to follow down through that in your residential district, almost everything on here is either not allowed or it's a site plan review.
Right.
So I just worry that we've created,
Yeah.
I don't know how to enforce it, I guess is what I'm asking you. And I would really want direction from you that if my example that I just cited to you, which I think is a very distinct possibility, came up, what would I do? Because it is a craft and you did approve a craft. So I don't know how to approach this. I'm wondering if because what the applicant did state distinctly of how he wishes to use that building isn't more of contract zoning than it is site plan review, because he's very definitely not a professional building. And there is no other category in this land use table that provides for that. So I think, I know it's difficult. Our ordinance doesn't address this
Doesn't
in any way, shape, form, or manner. So I guess I would ask for direction from you that if, I mean, even if the applicant says he's boat renovator, which we don't have a definition for that, so is that boat repair? That's not allowed in the residential district. So if that expands and there's 2 or 3, 4 boats out front being ready to be renovated and a couple of trailers and maybe parts, is that okay? Is that what you intended?
The problem is Addis is such an all-encompassing, Addison's such an all-encompassing term.
Well,
And is that, and I came in on the hind end of this.
yeah,
Is that how you understood it when you first started deliberating on this application? Is that how you understood that there would be a boat renovation in there? There would be possibly craft beer? I mean, these days, I did notice that artisan food, I don't know what that is, but
Has the word art in it.
but it's not allowed in the residential area. And I do think that the comprehensive plan and the people that crafted this document didn't want a lot of different kind of uses in the residential area. It's very obvious because it's either no or it comes to you. And I've heard Kelly say so many times, if it's not allowed in this book, it's not allowed.
Right.
So I guess I'm going to want from all of you how you want me to enforce this decision.
we got to write it so, well, I think here's my 2 cents. I mean, hindsight's great, which is good. And when we were looking at this, we'd gone through a sort of a contentious contract zoning discussion, which ended up getting turned down about building condos and stuff like that. So the owner of the property sold it rather than to do that.
To pursue it. Mhm.
Withdrew the application, actually, as I remember. The owner of that property at that time withdrew the application. So then the owner sold it to, I guess, I'm not sure I'm not sure of the sequencing on the selling of the property, but the applicants came before the planning board, said, okay, here's what we want to do. My feeling was we were trying to work with the applicants to try to come up with a reasonable use for the property. We didn't want it, well, wasn't our choice, but we did not want to be sitting there particularly empty if it could be put on the tax rolls. And again, it may have been a wrong decision per the extra wording in the ordinance. The only area we could come up with that seemed to cover it to some extent was professional offices. The applicant talked about using like studios for craftsmen. And that, again, that term is not defined in here in the ordinance. So we went forward and went through the process. We had a public hearing, as I remember, and we followed the whole process. And we came up with this. Now, the problem, of course, is where the rubber meets the road, and the code enforcement officer has to say, okay, does this meet the requirements of what the decision was? And there's got to be maybe there's some way, I mean, again, I have no personal interest in this one way or the other, except that I want to make sure we follow the ordinance as it's written. On the other hand, there's probably some obligation to the applicant who came forth and did all this and has done considerable work on the building to enable them to get a beneficial use out of it. And so that's what we're trying to come to the crux of it here. Can we come up with something that is beneficial use? The only in professional offices, I don't like these words, but that's what's in the ordinance. It says offices where services are provided that require specialized training or professional certification, including, and here's the weasel words, but not limited to. And it lists a bunch of things which are more of what you would find in an office building.
Right.
Okay, and then it says at the end, limited good or merchandise may be sold. And I never bought anything from my physician or my dentist except a bill, but that's another story. But anyhow, so I mean, that's the area that we originally approved this under, was professional offices. Now,
So,
in hindsight, that may have been a mistake.
last night on the news, they were talking in Portland about, they had some applications before their planning board. And I was trying to remember on the way here tonight exactly what the word was they used. It was like multi-occupational office space.
Mhm.
Because it was going to be very different. It could be somebody selling homemade crafts, could be a dentist office, could be a professional attorney's office, but it was a big mixture in the works. And that they were getting a lot of requests for that, and they were making those changes through the planning board. I just bring it up for discussion. I was trying to remember exactly what the word was. And
It sounds like they're
We don't
trying to
have
be,
that.
trying to be more
We're not
flexible.
there.
It's, we don't have
Yes.
that here.
We don't
Yeah,
have
so
that
in
yet.
other words, if you've got a building with office space, you can have a small retail, a professional office, and vice versa
Mhm.
in the mix.
Yeah, the only, I mean, again, I don't necessarily like these words, but I've got to say, under professional offices, it does have those four weasel words, but not limited to. And I'm not taking the side of the applicant by any means.
Well,
But on the other hand-
to go back to the issue with the boat, all right? They own the building, it's their boat. It's not as if it's a customer's boat that they're working on, it's their own. So how would that be excluded as something to do on their own place?
Well,
That could only be done, I mean, it's not their principal dwelling where they
Yeah.
would have a home occupation or a hobby that they would be allowed to do in any zone.
Okay.
But this is a professional office building. And they can't use it that way.
I'd like to get the sense of the board when this first came before us. What did each of us envision the studios would be used for? Personally, I'm thinking like decor, fabricating something to display, not producing consumables, be it beer or anything else.
Well, I think they intended to have people in there that were artists.
yeah,
Maybe
Yes.
one,
That's right.
but an artist could be making jewelry. An artist could be doing paintings, drawings,
Right.
making crafts. And I
Brewing beer.
think what's happened, what's that?
Brewing beer.
Yeah, well,
That's a
well,
but I think just from what I see, I don't think that's come about to be a profitable route to go for them. And so I think they're looking, saying, we gotta look at this again and make some adjustments here because it's not working. That's what I see happening.
well, I don't know exactly where they are with respect to, I did go in there once, months ago, just to see what was going on. I talked to somebody who was doing some drywall work and they seemed like they were moving along. Brenda, have you been into the building at all?
Yes,
Well, could
I
you
went with
please
the-
describe what's going on?
they're doing a wonderful job. They're not cutting any corners at all. Anything asbestos, anything like that's being removed. Anything that, heating systems, anything like that is being upgraded. They're trying to keep as much of the decor, the original.
Oh, yeah.
They're very pleased and proud that they're going to be able to keep the doors that are there, and they're very excited about it. And I have no concerns whatsoever that building isn't going to be brought into excellent compliance.
But just the use.
I'm concerned about the use.
Right.
And it, only because I want direction from you that if
Right.
something like this comes up. It was number 4 on your notice of decision that kind of triggered my thinking. And kind of makes it sound like all they need to do is notify, different people and that it might possibly be, I think they need to go through the procedure that we have in here for a change of use. It would be a reconsideration, I believe, of site plan review, modification of the existing site plan review or something to that effect. So it isn't just notifying the different entities. I think we have to put that they have to use the prescribed.
I'm sorry, number 4?
Number 4, it said if there was a change in use,
That's very
that
bad.
different people.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
notified.
sorry, I'm looking at the wrong spot. Let
And
me-
that's how.
Oh, yeah, okay, I got you.
I interpret this, when you have professional offices, people are gonna go in there and have a use. And if the use is permitted with CEO approval, they don't have to come before the board. But if the use needs planning board approval, they have to come here, even though they don't own the building, but they're gonna operate there. It's their business and they're gonna operate in that office. So
Because
to me, each one of these people that are going to rent space there,
Oh, I see.
their use needs to come before the planning board.
Oh, my God.
So you're right, Glenn. To me, what you're saying is correct. They come in there and they want to make beer. That's not a use that's permitted in the area, so they have to either go under a contract zone.
And then I think from the applicant's point of view, they need to rent that space.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Yes,
point of the
right,
whole
right,
thing.
right. That too.
So if they got to come back and it takes maybe 6 weeks, because by the time
Sure.
you notify everybody and, you know,
At least more than
what,
that.
what's that going to do to
Right.
I
So-
think there's a lot to think about, and I'm going to really stick my neck out there, and I don't normally do this. But I'm wondering if maybe your decision, you've got 30 days to reconsider and possibly get an attorney to help you with this. I
Well, do you-
probably shouldn't even say that, but
It sounds,
No,
it sounds like the principal concern is production of consumables, be it beer, cookies, whatever, that would not be permitted in this particular zone. Could, with the assistance of counsel, we come up with language that would make it clear that those uses would not fall under artisan, craftsman, maker. And therefore, anything else still has a very wide range in terms of what would be permissible. What do you think?
And the problem may never arise. I mean, maybe every single use that goes in there is just going to be wonderful, wonderful. You're going to have 10 to 12 different units in there.
Mhm.
It's not 3 or 4.
And they may change too.
I'm thinking
As
too,
time
Robert,
goes on.
Be it craft beer or baking goods, the amount of space that you need, the apparatus that you need, just in terms of baking, it would have to be commercially, it would have to conform to health code requirements. That'd be one heck of an investment
And
for a
I
small studio.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Except the basement of that building was the cafeteria, and it does have a commercial kitchen in it.
Yeah.
So because I thought that, no one would ever want to do that on that site. And I'm thinking, well, they could.
And nobody's ever said anything about this, but can they make that, as part of that into home living? Home
No.
living space?
I know that would be resident. I don't.
General purpose, right?
Oh, you mean under the decision you made last week or in general?
No, I'm talking in general.
That could definitely be residential.
Right, because that is on the residential zone.
It's in the residential zone.
Yeah.
There's not, but it's not in the notice of decision.
Right. If your notice of decision and he came in and said, gee, we can't rent it, I'm going to make that a studio apartment, I couldn't permit that.
He'd have to come back and make an
He'd have to
application,
come back and modify,
a
right,
request to change.
right.
What is a personal service business?
Well, that's a catch-all. Is that defined?
You know,
Maybe.
I'm wondering if that's a manicurist, maybe?
Yeah, masseurs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it's on page 74.
Manu-pedi?
Huh?
It's on the definition, page 74. Personal service business, a business that offers professional service such as, but not limited to barbers, hairdressers, beauticians, masseuses, and tanning salons.
So does that cover dogs and cat grooming? Just out
Well,
of curiosity.
Well, you
I don't know. We don't have that in ours. I don't think we have a dog grooming or anything.
I think I saw something for animals in here, but I can't.
Maybe there's something in there. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
there's a lot, you see a lot of that going into a lot of places.
Well, I see a lot of them are actually coming around in vans,
Yeah.
dog grooming vans, which makes a lot of sense. Um, Well, okay. I love it when we have an issue.
So personal service business would fit in there, because that, the site plan review and all zones, so
Definitely.
they,
That would be
if they,
perfect.
that would work. But I
Business
can see
professional
that
service.
crafts is too broad.
Personal service, professional service.
You know, and once again, should we, at Brenda's suggestion, run this past town council with requests that can, Mr. Moore should have some language that would preclude the production of any kind of consumables on the property. Anything else would be tangible decor, I would think, of some sort.
So you're looking to say no to
No cookies,
making
no beer.
consumables or no to selling consumables?
That's it.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, both. I think
Manufacturing
so.
and sale, because that's,
Right.
the zone doesn't permit it.
So they can't sell Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, they can't make them there.
Oh, I didn't say make them, I said sell them. That was the
Probably
difference.
not, because it was supposed to be limited retail, which in my mind is like your optometrists selling you your glasses.
Your
Mhm.
glasses, right, or podiatrist selling you your inserts for your shoes and.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's-
And even with that, we permitted, I think, about 24 events per year where the material, the artists can sell their material. That's 2 a month. That's
but
pretty generous, I think.
when they originally came, they were talking in terms of, I thought, my thought was that you'd have artisans there that would maybe do some clay work or, they'd have
Metal.
something and then they'd have an event to
to sell.
publicize it and sell it. And we said, hey, wait a minute now, what about the traffic and all that stuff? So that's why we put a limit on the number of events. So it wouldn't be, and that was covered in a public hearing and everything, as I remember.
Mhm.
So,
So if they were making clay pots and selling them Monday through Friday, that really wouldn't be a fair event, no? Yes?
No, that would
It-
not.
it
because
wasn't-
Now you have retail.
yeah, the interpretation wasn't they were gonna have a mini Home Depot over there selling, it was to be having, like a craft fair, like you see advertised. There's a craft fair and people come and sell soap or they
Like
come and
they're gonna have
sell,
this coming weekend over at, on Shaker Pond.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, that was the idea. So we said, okay, 24 events a year, which sounded reasonable and it wasn't any
Actually,
art.
pretty generous, that's 2 a month,
Yeah.
all year. That,
Yeah, so that wasn't a problem. So it just really, it sounds like it's the uses that we got to try to nail down here.
Maybe that statement that Joe crafted, I heard that one, would cover it.
Well, we did put that in there. We put the wording that he had.
But, to address Brenda's concerns, again, something that would explicitly prohibit the manufacture and sale of consumable goods, such as beer, baked goods.
So somebody couldn't put a pizza place in.
right.
Not.
And the big thing about the boat use in there is you have explosive chemicals, gas, the paint. And that was the big thing. It changed everything on how that had to be sprinkled or.
Yeah.
The fire.
He's addressed that.
Yeah.
Marcel has gone out, fire chief went out, they made some stipulations, things that could be in a locked cabinet and things, so he's been very receptive that way.
Okay. Well, I get the impression they're excited to be here. even though they're from.
We'll find out.
Portland area. They're excited to be here.
No, I understand, and we want
Well,
to hear.
I mean, the only issue is, we're trying to do something that is not explicitly defined in the ordinance, okay? There are other words, the weasel words in there, which I don't like, but not limited to.
Mhm.
But the only thing different from this, that as somebody walking in the door asking for this, is that we went through the whole process last year, and, you know, it's possible we made a mistake. I don't know. I mean, it happens sometimes, not intentionally, of course. But if we made a mistake and they've already put in a lot of money fixing the place up, it's pretty hard to go back, and for the town to go back, which we're the town, right? Go back to them and say, hey, wait a minute, we screwed up. And we're going to tell, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I think we ought to try as much as we can in accordance with the ordinance, but maybe we need to have a lawyer look at it.
I'm wondering if maybe just to have the attorney look at your notice of decision
Mhm.
to make sure that we put enough
Protection. for-
safety nets in there.
Yeah.
I think you've done a very good job, but.
Well, we want to get it right.
Well, and maybe for him to look at it and say that does leave the door open for the board to, you know, make some conditions, and that's what you want.
Don, I don't think the board made a mistake. I think it was a pretty decent decision. I think what we're just seeing is the owners have realized what their plan was is not working, and they need to adjust it. They need to make changes.
You may be right. Well, it's the same thing with the fire protection, right? We didn't say to
Yeah.
them, you have to make the sprinkler system work. They said, we're going to make the sprinkler system work.
Yeah.
Okay, fine,
So-
that's what you said, that's what we wrote.
They've come in and said, we want to make changes. What do you want, really? And it's not, they're not saying, we're not going to do that. It's
Yeah.
like, what do you want us to do so that we can move forward? And
Right.
I think they just want to work with the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have they started, do you know where they are now in the project?
I have received an application for what they're calling phase two, which is primarily the building.
Oh, yeah,
And I haven't done the two occupancy certificates on the two units now because I had so many questions.
oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So, I mean, they're being occupied and nobody's bothering them. They do want a certificate of occupancy. I just want to know how you want me to write it.
Right,
And I think maybe just make an appointment with the attorney and making him understand what we're wrestling with and seeing if he could capture that in the notice of decision. It might be that simple.
okay, well, wait a minute now. Okay, let me think about this a little bit. How is this going to happen? Are we going to ask the attorney to come to a meeting and discuss it? Or is
Could we send some
written material to them?
this with a modification addressing consumables to him to get an opinion?
Maybe I can submit it with him with just a really quick synopsis. And if he says, wait a minute,
Good.
I need to see the board.
Okay,
then
do
maybe-
you need any, could you, well, let me ask this. Okay, let's move this along here. Could Brenda submit this change to the, with a summary of what's going on to the town lawyer and ask him for his opinion as to whether we need to, you know, if we need to change some wording, I mean, and get his sense, because if there's a lawsuit, which we don't want, obviously, because it wastes everybody's time and money, except for the lawyers, which always make out. But this way we could ask them, say, okay, what's this going to do? Is this okay? Or do we need to be more specific, more definitive? And maybe he's got some ideas, because he was pretty helpful with the Pines there, whatever it was, that subdivision. He was pretty helpful for that. That helped us out.
He's very familiar with our ordinance, and
Yeah.
I think this may be a good compromise so that everybody will be comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, and we want you, I think, personally, I'm just speaking for myself, I'd like to make sure that Brenda is confident that what she's doing is in accordance with what the planning board has written, what's been recorded, and what's in the ordinance, because if we get to the situation where somebody comes in and gets a special deal, then that's bad news for everybody. We don't want that.
You don't want spots on.
No.
And, if we're gonna bring a lawyer into it, my concern is, everything else in the ordinance, the definition, things are defined, but there's no definition for artist, craftsman, or maker.
Right.
We need to get specific on that. Same with the consumables. Makers make candles, soaps, those are consumables.
Right.
We could be locking half their business out by specifying things like that.
Well,
We need some guidance.
We need some guidance. Yeah.
Right.
maybe passing this language along as well. To be understood as individual studios for artists, craftsmen, and makers, excluding the production and sale of beverages and foodstuffs for human consumption. So that excludes candles and the like.
Okay, so
Yes.
And it's
Why
not a
doesn't-
use that is not permitted and it's not a use that is permitted in the residential zone, right? If they come in with a use, it's not cooking or anything, but it could be something else.
well,
If
it could
it's
be
not
our
permitted in
there's
here.
artisanal, whatever. We'll use that for that facility on Route 1. Remember the Mead place? Didn't we
Yeah.
use that for
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Which never, I don't know what they're doing, but they aren't, anyway.
Nothing happened.
So, anyway, I was just about to make a brilliant statement. If maybe, could you write those words up and give them to Brenda? And Brenda could take those words, this thing, and send it to the lawyer and get an opinion?
I think that would be a good idea.
Because this way, I mean, we don't want to do it twice, right? We want to
Right.
get it right if we can.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
have to get it right. And we can't just say, no, you can't do anything. That's not appropriate because of the efforts they put in and the money they've spent
Right.
so far. But we want to, as much as possible, we got to follow the ordinance, but we do have some leeway under professional offices, which I don't particularly like, but it's there. We might have to use that a little bit. But I think if we get the lawyer that way, if there is a lawsuit from anybody, at least we can say, that, okay, we may have been stupid, but we were smart enough to at least ask the lawyer, which, whatever that helps you for, I don't know.
I think this is a very good example for our ordinance review committee.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
true. And that's the issue with the ordinance, you know? I mean, every town has its own ordinance. You look and they're all different a little bit and they're all great. Nobody cares about them, whatever, until they want to do something or somebody wants to do something next to them. Then they get very interested.
We're going in the wrong hole.
Preaching to the YouTube choir.
So, for example, if an insurance agency wanted to use one of those offices, would that be permitted?
And I would find that hard to call that
Even
an
that?
art or a craft or a
Right.
maker.
But that could be
It's a professional office.
But you didn't put anywhere in your notice of decision that professional use was also allowed.
So if you said multi-locational office
Maybe you
space,
should use terminology like
But
that.
then crafting beer is
Well-
probably a vocation for a lot of people.
See,
drinking beer is a vocation.
See, the original thing said the applicants proposed to repurpose the former Cousins Memorial School property into professional offices. I think that's where there was a period.
That's right.
Okay, so those professional offices could be lawyers, anybody.
Yes.
And then to try to make it more appropriate, Joe had some words, to be understood as individual studios for artists, craftsmen, and makers. Now, if we wanted to allow the use of professional offices, which is an authorized use in that zone, as I remember it, we could add, instead of saying to be understood as, we could say some weasel words like to include, or something like that.
Or not limited to.
Yeah, but not, some words there. Oh, God, I hate that word.
But consider that scenario. So there's insurance agent wants to rent out an office there. Well, it doesn't really fit into artists, craftsmen, makers.
Right.
So it gets referred to all those mentioned on condition number 4. And in that case, it would be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's no.
Will we have to go through all the process?
Well, the process would be, according to the condition, is review and approval.
Oh.
And I don't think that would be onerous.
We'd have to
You
go
got
to a
4
public
checks,
hearing or something.
check marks to get. At the same time, I don't think any one of the entities would have any objection. So-
Well, I think we ought to try to ask Brenda to take the wording and talk with a lawyer. And I don't have any, I just want to try, if we can put this forward and have a good concrete base to go from, so we don't have this coming up every 6 months as another use, we're better off, because it's just not a good use of time. If you have to go and if we end up having to have a public hearing every time they want to have a use there and they go through that, notify the abutters, go through the whole
Well, they'll lose all
process.
the tenants.
Yeah, it's not appropriate.
However, the tenant would never be able to open an office in that area anyway, because if it's not a use, or they would have to come before the planning board. The use
Right.
doesn't matter whether they're renting or they own it, they still have to follow the ordinance. Each use has to be.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
that
we're-
language should be-
I like the compromise, thank you.
Okay.
Darn it. I hate it when the ordinance isn't word.
I think in its day, it was fine.
Mm.
The town has grown.
It's growing.
Well, the uses have grown too. People want to do different things, and there's nothing wrong with that, but
Just as a quick aside, the format that we have, we go through the land use table, listing of what is or is not permissible under each of the zones, and then the definitions. And it seems to me we've got three sections where I think, two would do. And you need some consonance between what is being mentioned in a land use table and what's being defined later on. And I'm finding that
can be
sometimes the
some errors.
definition isn't there. Sometimes what I find in one section, particularly under, say, farming, is very, very detailed. And it's that kind of detail is not showing up in the definition. Anyway,
Oh, yeah, I
that's
get
something
you.
for tomorrow, I guess.
And it's very different, it shouldn't be left up to interpretation. I mean,
No, it shouldn't
I-
be.
we don't want that.
Right, I don't blame you.
No, but that just creates issues, just creates problems for you and anybody else, everybody else.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that whole thing on farming and those animal units, remember, that was
Oh, I remember.
That was because of a complaint that was received, about noise and things like that, as I remember.
Chickens.
Chicken roosters, I think, was a big issue. So we came through and came up with that thing on animal units, which, I don't know if anybody's ever used it or not, but it's in the ordinance now. We're sort of stuck with it. Anyway, you think that'll work?
I do,
Okay,
I'm encouraged.
good,
Good.
good. We want to make this, hopefully make it appropriate. Okay. Good luck.
Now we're on to rustic dreams.
Yeah.
I gave you quite a packet, and there's a
I saw that.
lot in there. You're gonna see a lot of duplicates, only because some documents fell in a couple of categories. I tried to categorize everything. I tried to do a quick synopsis for you. I'm not looking for any action tonight. I would just like, an opinion as to whether you think a site plan review is the use has triggered the need for a site plan review. If you say no, you're very comfortable with, then we'll just move on. But if you'd like to take a look, then
Now, are they asking for an expansion of uses or just the comparing what they're advertising as opposed to?
then the property owners are fine just the way they are right now. But because of the changes that's happened over the years, I feel like it triggered some overview from the planning board. That was just my opinion.
You mean because it had uses before as an auction hall?
An action hall and a dance hall with BYOB.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They've since got a liquor license, catering license. They, they hold events where food is served. It was,
Yeah, change the NOD.
I had somewhere in all of that, because I've read it so many times, there was an opinion because they, back along, not this property owner, definitely not, but back along, they expanded the auctions to a flea market, so if somebody came back and said no outside activities, and in the current owners are offering outside activities, I just felt like a site
Oh,
plan review and define everything and get it recorded. There again, I'd like our records to match what's out there.
Yes.
So the site plan review from 1995 still follows the property.
It does.
Yeah.
But remember, that wasn't a site plan review, that was a conditional use.
Conditional use
at the
time.
Which was a whole different review, really.
And I
But-
thought that was closed too. for-
I thought when they didn't do the conditional use for X amount of years, it was null and void.
And I don't know that there was never an interruption in the use. I don't know
Oh.
the history.
There was an
You
interruption
know,
in use.
Local people know the history a lot better than I do. I just felt like when I saw it come across my desk, there was
Oh,
a
that's
question as to whether they needed an entertainment permit, which I guess they get from the selectmen. And there was some conversation, well, because they serve liquor now, it, triggered this and triggered, and I think, wait a minute, to me, that's not what was originally approved. So I thought it was time, but if you don't agree with me, then.
Well, when they came before us, I thought the other permit was null and void
And
myself.
see, that didn't occur to me because I don't know the history, but possibly it is. I don't know how long it's set,
Oh,
because it's 2 years, right?
here it
I
is.
believe it's 2 years.
Right. It hasn't
I know
been-
it's sat for quite some time.
Did we issue a notice of decision
It's in
permitting
there.
their operations?
Oh,
as they
well, I'm
are
sure
right
it is.
now?
Only one back in 1995 that I can find.
Well, they came here for a liquor license.
They came
Well,
in
they
here,
for
they came
marijuana.
in here to have that made into a wedding venue place.
Right.
I thought we went through a whole,
Yeah,
I
Think
didn't
of
find
that,
that in the records
'cause-
at all.
he brought his wife in here and we went down there and looked at it all.
yeah, right.
You have the minutes here, you included the minutes from
Right.
July of
And
21.
you made a statement that you weren't going to make a decision on it because you didn't have a code enforcement officer at the time. There was
Oh.
a gap, and as soon as she came back, you take a look at it again, and it just.
Oh, it never happened? Oh, I got you. Okay. Wow.
When didn't they originally come before us to get a permit to do marijuana,
Yes.
That was,
medical marijuana?
That was a,
that was secondary.
Secondary.
First
That was
was for
secondary.
the roasted
First was for the
trains.
barn.
we
for the
approved
barn,
that.
Right, and then they
We
came,
approved that.
yes, you did.
They just never built it.
But then they withdrew it.
Oh, they
We
did?
withdrew it, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I
that-
could have sworn we followed that through.
Yeah.
For the,
Walk through all the,
I didn't see any minutes to that effect. Everything that was in the folder, I don't know how it's, I guess we could look at the date of the statement that Don made and look at the minutes.
Well, the minutes that are on the very back page of this thing are from July 21st of 21.
mhm.
Right, so it would have to have been,
Yeah, and I said, apparently I was in my brilliant statement, said that, made a motion that the planning board asked the applicant to consult with the CEO on the status of the existing permit and ask the CEO and inform the planning board of decision, seconded by Joe, and this was apparently on July 21st. And,
Change of use requires site plan.
yeah,
Went to about 2019.
and I don't know that
So
ever,
that's,
anything ever happened after that. I don't think
I
anything. did.
don't think so.
I don't remember
think that's when
anything.
Changes were made, COVID.
Things were, Yeah, because we didn't have a CEO and then we did. We probably got onto other activities.
And I also provided you, I think it's the second category, I provided you with the documents of the property owner. When I asked the property owner if he thought, the use was a site plan review, he disagreed, he brought in the documents that he had to make his point that it wasn't. So that's the second category, I think, if I did it.
Boy, I even wrote an email on this.
But I don't think anything happened after that.
Oh, that may have, well, it was,
Well, one thing that did happen, I think, is that the applicants went to select board for the liquor license. correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We do.
So there
Yes.
must have been some sort of green light on our part for them to take that next step. I
Liquor
thought.
and food for
I
weddings.
don't think, the liquor license goes to the select board, and I believe they hold a hearing that if anybody has any, and I don't think that comes to you.
No, no,
It doesn't even really come to
Right,
me, it's just
right.
as a courtesy that
Right.
the select board provides me with a copy just in case I know
so,
something.
so they did get a liquor license.
They have
Okay.
a liquor license and they have a catering license.
Okay,
They tell me that they don't use that catering license, it's too much.
Mhm.
Much
So they
work.
allow, their
People.
clients to bring their own caterer in, but that's still food being served. It's
Mhm.
still a
Gotcha.
commercial kitchen.
Mhm.
okay. So I guess the issue is we didn't really approve it for that, right?
I can't find it.
Yeah. So, okay.
But they have a copy of a notice of decision from the board.
From 1995.
No, from,
I
more
don't believe they
recently.
do. The packet they brought in to me, there was the most current notice of decision in 1995. Which they tell me that they feel that the use that they're applying to the property now is in line with the 1995 conditional use. I feel like there's been enough changes.
Oh, yeah. And then but big whole discussion on that here on the very last page from July 21st, I guess. Because it says, Rod, you read a letter from the town's
Yeah.
lawyer, blah, blah, blah. There was no definitive answer. Is it permits or good? Oh, God.
So,
And you asked them to consult with the CEO on the status of the existing permit, and ask the CEO to inform the planning board of decisions.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that didn't happen. Apparently, I mean, if there's no evidence of it,
I think it fell between the cracks.
could have.
From the time of that last correspondence, I came on in the end of July of 22, so 1 year lapsed.
Yeah, 1 year.
And I can't find anything that happened in that 1 year.
Cecile, you have probably have better notes than anybody.
I save email, I have a whole planning board folder in my emails, I try to put documents in.
You're better
So I
off than I
have files, I might find one notice of decision in
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
In, public hearings, were we recording those?
Yeah.
The videos, or, I'm sure we were recording.
We had a,
It's probably just still audio at that point.
there was a gap in minutes, and I went back and did them from, I think it was 22 though.
It was.
Yes.
I did 4 or 5 there in 22, and we went through the process and approved those.
Yeah, I did a couple of them too.
Yeah, and you did some too, and so we got all those up to date, but there's some, I think in 21, where there was a gap because when our code enforcement officer left, the admin assistant left at the same time.
Right,
So we had a gap there, and we were behind at that time, when that person left, we were behind a little bit on some minutes. So I'm sure there's probably a recording of it, but it would be an audio recording. And some of those things are horrendous to hear. I mean, I remember when I was doing the minutes, I was listening to the darn things, and because, I know who the people are, but it's still a pain to do it because you can't just come in cold and listen to those.
no,
It's a difficult thing to do because you don't know whose voice is which.
gotta keep backing out.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we had that interim CEO, remember? There's one of them.
I think
From
there was a
him.
letter from your interim CEO.
Yeah,
So Brenda, just in terms of the chronology here, did you contact Rusty Dreams and then they came back with the 95 and everything?
Right, I sent an email, I think it's.
it's in here.
It's
Yeah, I
there
think it's in
somewhere.
here.
I sent you a copy of the email.
No, this is quite a package.
And that I believe, and it was because I got a copy of the liquor license that the select board, just out of courtesy, and it wasn't in file, and I think, wait a minute. So that's when I started doing some research, and I let them know that I thought maybe,
Oh, that's
and they sent back the packet to show that they felt like they still fall under the 1995 conditional use.
I don't think that's right. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't think that concept doesn't seem right to me.
I don't agree. I think,
That's just-
the liquor license made a difference. That's a whole different overview for the planning board. And I think that the commercial kitchen with, serving food, whether it's them or a caterer,
It changes,
takes some overview. And I think having outdoor events definitely takes some overview.
you've done a heck of a job putting this together.
It's great getting all this documentation, yeah,
Yeah, this is a.
even the minutes. That was 2021, no, August.
Yeah, oh, there it is. Okay, that one from Mr. Lambert.
And in all fairness, Patty kept impeccable records. That was all right in there. It wasn't in any great order, but I put it in order just to see if I could find, the timeline. So I can't take the credit for it. Patty did a good job.
Okay.
Well, I think you've got grounds to ask them to come in anyway, just on their Facebook listing for the number of people compared to what they're allowed to have.
Right.
It's all right off. I think
Yeah.
they have a right to say come in.
And I think on the liquor license application, they stated 170 people.
Oh,
The septic says 128.
128, yeah.
Yeah, the fire chief did say that the building is rated for 170 people. From
Okay.
his formula, so that's good news.
Okay.
so they can bring the people in as long as they don't use a bathroom.
They don't use
Put a porta potty outside for the
Good luck with
left,
that.
for the excess, for the overflow. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's funny. Somewhere in the correspondence, it did say that the original conditions in 1995, not all of them were ever met either. There was things like buffers.
Oh,
So I don't know anything about that, so I just thought it deserved some attention.
yeah, boy, this is a little
And
complicated.
they're looking to do entertainment outside of the building.
They do entertainment outside. It said something about spooky Halloween, so I bet it's like one
Oh.
of those walks or something,
Yeah.
which is perfectly okay. It's just, it's not one of their allowed uses.
And if it
Are they-
required site plan review, we would have had a public hearing and the neighbors would have had an opportunity to know what would be going on there.
And I think that when the select board works on their liquor license, that they hold a public hearing in case
Mhm.
anybody has any objections, and I'm sure they don't get.
Sure.
I think the place is run very well.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, doesn't the select board, I mean, I've heard them mention using their facilities for meetings. I mean, if we had to.
We consider
It would be an
that
option to use
because
it.
in case we outgrow here,
Right.
they offered at no charge, they stepped right up to the plate.
Is that right?
The owners, yes, they did.
well, we have a fire station. What's wrong with that? Especially in the middle of February, when the doors are open because it's COVID. Yeah, well, I digress. So what are we gonna do with this? We're gonna,
I'm gonna read it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been scanning through it,
That's what
but
I
I'd like to
thought.
sit down.
There's a lot.
a lot of material here.
There's a lot to read.
Yeah, and you may see something that says, you think it's fine, and, you
Yeah.
come back at the next meeting and say, or.
I think they're gonna have to come and talk to us. That'd be my thought.
Or at least update the old conditional use permit.
Yeah, it could be that simple.
I mean,
Oh, we don't have conditional use.
I understand we don't.
So
Yeah.
Brenda, was that
We're just-
place
I
they
had
used for all the
used
auctions?
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was.
Wesley.
Okay, yeah, Wesley, right.
Well,
Yeah,
gee,
I
that was
remember the flea
interesting.
market. I
That was a
remember
long
the
time
flea
ago.
market sign. It was a long time ago.
Whoa.
And then it closed it, and then it was vacant for a long time.
And then, maybe like you said, that conditional use expires based on that.
Right.
I just don't know how we would document that.
So what is the plan? To look this over and discuss it next meeting?
Yes, I think that's what we should do.
And then if we want the applicant, we ask them to come in.
I notified the applicant, Julia, I think that it was going to be on this evening's agenda. I sent them, I sent them a copy of the
Oh, good.
packet.
Good, that's fair, that's fair.
And so I thought if they wanted to be here, I didn't want to bring it up without them knowing.
So
No,
if we do have them come in, would it be to update the conditional use permit? I mean, I know we have site plan review now.
I think that's up to the board.
I mean, I'm not quite sure how to,
I don't know.
Would it be comparable to what we just did earlier in the meeting in terms of setting a notice, making a notice of
a
decision?
new notice of
New
decision
notice of decision.
on the
right.
conditional use permit.
An
Yeah.
I mean,
additional-
Yeah, something,
I'm just trying to, we gotta think about how we're gonna approach
Right.
it.
but I think, yeah, but the idea would be to have something at the end of the day that covers it. And
What's
is-
going on now?
Yeah, and has a legal document, registered and all that in the York County Registry of Deeds, so that anybody looking at it in the future, it's right there. You don't come up with something that says, oops, and then there's no backup or anything.
And that's what I tell these proprietors, that nobody's looking to make it harder or shut them down or anything like that.
No.
It's just to keep the records
Yeah,
current. And what my whole goal is for these things, aside from giving you the opportunity, is that the fire chief and that the electrical inspector know this town. So when
Right.
something comes up, I want them to know.
yeah. There's no requirement right now, is there, for periodic inspections?
The fire chief and I have talked about that, and he asked if maybe going forward, if the board would consider as part of their notice of decisions that maybe, I don't know, every 2 years, like the gravel pits.
Gravel pits, yeah.
That, that, and maybe at that point, the code enforcement officer and the fire chief might say, yeah, everything, the fire chief knows what's going on. He does.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the only issue would be if there's enough people power to make inspections for every couple. Because I mean, if we gotta be careful not to lock into something that is not supportable.
but at least if the door is there, it doesn't mean you have to walk through it.
Yeah,
If the opportunity is there, so that if the fire chief or the electrical inspector is aware of a problem, and then they have the opportunity to go in and address it. And if something has changed, bring it back to you.
Well, right now, if you heard of say a violation in some business, do you have any authority to go inspect? Or would it just be if the use was incorrect?
Or you get a complaint,
It would depend. My training says that I can only address what the postman can see.
Oh,
And so it would depend, if I get a complaint that somebody was in an establishment, something, I mean, generally, I would contact the property owners, because usually reality's in the middle somewhere.
yeah, I got you.
So, usually we work it out that way. If
But-
it's a use, then I believe it has to come back to the planning board for them to say, yes, that's something that.
But
we
you
need to
you
do.
can't, I mean, a property owner could, or even a business owner could say to you and the fire chief, get off my property?
I think the fire chief has jurisdiction.
Yeah, okay. How about the electrical inspector?
He definitely has jurisdiction.
So he could go in if, say, he had a complaint or something, or it had somehow had evidence there was, they were running a business and they didn't have the right transformer or something like that.
He does.
Okay,
He has access.
better. Because we don't have any, the planning board really doesn't have any enforcement authority. We shouldn't have any.
The planning board has more enforcement over use.
Yeah,
definitely.
use, okay.
In code enforcement, it's really, and the building is in code with the IRC. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Plus make sure that the use corresponds with what.
Was
you
approved.
think is-
Yeah. Approved use, okay.
That's why, I mean, Matt had said maybe going forward that he'd like to see the board make that as one of the conditions possibly. And it doesn't have to be absolute and automatic, or maybe you can even say as necessary, or,
we could ask for their recommendation.
yeah, I think it's
Right.
something that you should talk about.
Yeah,
And maybe on a per situation basis, not, you know.
Well, yeah, and there's a condition in there, about fire protection, et cetera, that would it would be very easy for, standard number such and such, to put in there, a requirement for periodic inspections at the discretion of the fire chief or something like that, so you wouldn't lock him into making one every 2 years when it turned out to be he's got too much, he can't do it. But if he knows of something that's a little shaky, he has the authority to go in if that's needed.
Because you made it a condition.
Yeah, that's a better way to do it if you could. Anyway, whoosh.
Okay, did everybody get to read the notice of decision for the hidden spa?
It went out a while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was brilliant.
It was brilliant, so.
Yeah. Yeah,
Any discussion? Well, I'll make a motion,
yeah, there was,
accept it as written.
there was not much, too much in that one.
No,
but
there's no,
Sort of, that's why it was
Just
brilliant.
needs a signature, I think,
it
right?
does.
That's why it's here.
Needs to be signed.
You make-
They did come in and pay for it, and
Yeah. So you make a motion? I'll second your motion.
All in favor of accepting this as written?
Aye.
Julie, will you have an issue having that notarized?
tomorrow, yes, because the ladies are off for training, but I'll have it done on Friday.
Okay. Even though Rod's not gonna be present,
Sue
that's
Sue trusts him.
she's, okay with that.
She trusts him.
Now, where does that leave us now with NODs? We're sort of up to date now, aren't we? Pretty much.
Oosterman,
Oosterman,
which we forgot about.
Oh, God.
on West Shore.
That's my school.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, which one? Ooster
Oosterman,
and,
Yes.
that was the two properties that are
Yeah.
combined into one.
Mhm.
We didn't do notice of decision.
I don't recall.
I think I'm pretty sure we voted
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
We did
did I
vote
have
on
an
it.
NOD on that?
I don't think we did.
I have to check, I'm gonna have to check my.
I
Yeah,
think
please.
that was it. I think,
Yeah, I think that's the only one that I had outstanding in the pending file.
yeah.
oh, good,
Okay.
good. Somebody's keep track.
Okay, did everybody get to read the September 6th, 2023 planning board meeting minutes?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Yeah, my name is on there as being here, and I don't think I was here.
When, September, what day was it?
The last meeting.
It actually says
September
William
6th.
Single absent.
Oh, it does say absent? Oh,
Yeah.
oh, no, it's the other side that I was
On the
looking
front.
at, up in the top, under the list of all the people.
Yeah, it does say you were here on this side.
Yeah,
Just strike through it.
yeah.
Yep.
Here and you weren't here.
He's
That was,
fooling around.
that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Mandrake.
Were we looking for a motion on that?
Yeah, but we
We can
we'll have
make,
to have you correct us before we sign it, right?
we can just strike through it, right?
That's what I said.
I make a motion to accept it as amended.
As amended.
You gotta vote on that.
I'll second the motion.
Oh, okay.
All in favor of accepting these as amended?
Moving it
There's
along.
no, there's a majority.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we don't need to-
That's all the official signatures we need tonight.
I believe so.
That was nine, was that 9-6?
9-6.
Okay. Great.
Okay, down there you go.
There you go. What else we got? Keep it looking.
You have a sidewalk tomorrow night at 5:30 at 36 Cottage Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I put some pictures in there
Yep.
for you.
Mhm.
There was the couple that came and spoke to you last
Maxims.
time, or a couple of times ago, I can't remember when.
I will not be at that sidewalk tomorrow.
okay.
I believe Kelly will be there tomorrow night.
Yes.
Again, I'll be there, but I'm gonna be cutting it close.
You know, don't rush on that.
Yeah.
You can handle it.
I have very exciting news for you for the next meeting.
Oh, gosh.
Parker subdivision is coming back
Oh,
on schedule.
gosh.
Wow.
So
That's
they
exciting.
determined where Lyman and Alfred exist?
I don't know, he was supposed to send me some information, I got an email from the engineer today that he ran out of time and didn't, I'm supposed to have some stuff by Friday to send to you. That's where it stands.
Okay.
So I said if I get it by Friday, he can still come.
Which subdivision? That was,
Off Kennebunk Road?
yeah,
Yeah.
the name was
Harper?
Harper. Yeah.
Harper. I think I put him on your new business, your own business, whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Something,
that's right, next meeting.
yeah. So your sidewalk for tomorrow will be on the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else. There's so much, Brenda keeps looking for stuff.
Got plenty to do.
MX 207 came in with some additional information.
I gave it to you
Right.
last time.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard from him since he dropped that off.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he's,
I will reach out to him and see when he
Back
wants
at
to come in.
Mhm.
I don't know what you want to do about a final.
Yeah.
we gotta do
This is-
something.
The Osimhen's pictures right here.
Oh, yeah.
There were 2 buildings.
Yep.
That's the application.
Mm-hmm.
Is there nothing we need to do? Subdivision?
Oh, this, on the cottage, yeah, it's in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Miss Kelly giving us a profile.
There you go.
What I got?
Yeah, I think we A-okayed that. This one.
Oh,
Anything else?
Well,
yeah, we got it. Well,
Bylaws?
yeah.
yeah, Joe went to the meeting. Go, you tell him. He didn't
Yeah,
go.
there were a couple of sections of the bylaws that we submitted to the select board that one member and the town manager had some questions about. I think where they left it was that they were going to go through it. One thing I asked of Don, what I had in front of me was the
Oh, the green copy.
copy where we had shown in green
Yeah, yeah.
and in yellow what changes we have made in the previous version.
Right.
They asked for a copy of that. If you still have,
Oh, I still have it.
okay, just send it to the select board so
I'll
they can
give it
see
to-
where the,
Julie to send to them.
okay.
Because remember,
Yep.
I will just say that I had proposed to send them the nice clean copy and a changed copy, but I think it was voted down or at the last meeting,
Mhm.
just saying.
They're
But
asking.
anyhow, but I can get you the, I mean, I can get Julia, I mean, give me a habit already, but if I can get you a copy with the da.
Mhm.
So what are they gonna do? Look at it now?
Well, yeah, we'd like me to go through the
Yeah. what they have
sections where they
happened.
had, okay. If you have it handy. First, concern both by one of the select board members and the town manager was on 1.4.
Oh,
The
fine.
last paragraph on page 1. The board should review allegations of bias in executive session as described in section 10 after reviewing the bias allegations and the board member's response. The board, without the board member accused of bias, shall vote on the issue in open session. And there was the concern that going into executive session might be in conflict with the Freedom of Access Act.
Oh,
So I think the suggestion was that any allegations of bias would be discussed in open session. And
well, that's, I don't care.
let me see. Article 2. Appointments to the board, well, there's some concern as to whether or not what we have in 823 in the Lyman zoning ordinance, which requires a conversation with candidates
Right.
for the board, is inconsistent or in conflict with the charter.
Mhm.
I made the comment that I think there is no conflict, that the procedure can be, as the town-approved land zoning ordinance requires, a conversation with the board first, a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. It still can be screened, reviewed by the town manager.
Mhm.
And if the town manager would make a recommendation to the board, and that still would be in keeping with the charter's requirement that the appointments are made by the town
Yeah.
manager with the concurrence of the select board. So we'll see how it goes. This may be subject to a workshop that the select board's having, I think, on the 28th. So, let me see, when a permanent vacancy this is 2.5, when a permanent vacancy on the board occurs, the chair shall request a motion to move the senior alternate to fill the vacancy, and the board shall vote on the same. The sentiment was on the part of the town manager that may be inconsistent with 512 of the charter, which was being chartered as select board determines who's who in terms of
Who's moving up?
They're getting picky. Which one was that, 512?
That's 512
So does it go to the highest? bidder?
compared to 25.
I mean, they appoint to the board, but I don't know when the heck, and I'll say this for the thousands of people watching. It says, the town manager with concurrence of the board shall appoint members to the boards and committees as listed in section 4.2. Okay, now if they appoint someone to the planning board, I mean, this is the first time it's ever been done where they appointed people as principal and alternate members. And I think that's a pile of baloney, and I'll say that in public. They should, we've had a process to work for the last X years I've been on the board, which is more than 10. And I don't know why, I think we gotta decide who is good for the planning board to be an alternate member versus a permanent member. I mean, it just seems, maybe I'm all wet on that. Maybe I'm overstepping my bounds as usual, but I don't know. But if they want to change, want us to change that, I guess that's there. But anyway, we'll see I hope the letter that went with this thing did go, and I think they requested comments in writing. If the letter went as I had drafted it to go to the planning, to the select board. So I hope we get some comments back.
Did they read the letter? They probably didn't read the letter.
Well, no, I'm not trying to, I'm glad Joe went to the meeting because I probably would. I mean, I'm going to 2 meetings this week. I'm not going to 3, I can tell you that much. So I'm sorry, I'm getting out of here. I'm talking too much.
The other concerns were 3, 4, and 5.1 in reference to the secretary is responsible for all minutes and records of the board, notices of meetings. And 5.1, the clerk, and there is no, according to the town manager, there is no such position, planning board clerk. Administrative assistant to the CEO, yes. And there was some concern, the clerk provides administrative support to the board and under the supervision of the secretary. And supervisory authority on the part of anyone on the board to a town employee doesn't exist. So I would suggest that change the word supervision to guidance, or with the coordination. Coordinating with the secretary is responsible for all minutes in the board.
And records of the board.
And the records. Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have access to any documents that are stored in this office, or you don't have access to the computer or of the server, how can you do that?
Yeah.
How can you, I mean, The records I keep are in my personal email because they've been forwarded from the clerk, right?
Right.
You keep amazing records, and the minutes are a pain, and I complain about them after every meeting. Brenda listens to me. And I'm like, why doesn't Cecile do this? It's such a pain.
Well,
But I have access to things that you don't.
Right.
Right, that's
And
the
we
problem.
always had a clerk. When I first came on the
Yeah,
board,
we've
I
always
was
had
a
a clerk.
dedicated clerk. And when I was voted in as secretary at first, and I made it very clear, I said, I'm not gonna participate and take the minutes of the meeting because I feel like I lose out.
You can't,
I need my ears to.
Can't do
hear
both.
What's going on, I can't do
can't keep
both.
track.
And Patty made it very clear. She said, no, she said, the position, your main position is to be able to sign the legal documents,
Right, which you've been doing.
which I've been doing between
Yeah.
Rod and I.
Mhm.
But now, it's changed now.
It's a little different.
You've got a recording secretary and a board secretary. It's very different.
Right, yes.
So what else was there, Joe? Was there anything else?
6.2, the board may obtain goods and services it finds necessary to properly perform its function within the limits of appropriations made for that purpose. Now, we don't buy stuff, but we do have legal services. So the concern there, I think, was if we insert language following established standard procurement procedures, which is, I think, where they were going. Yeah, that we just don't go out and buy stuff. We have to go through the town itself.
Mhm.
I think we'd be okay with that modification of that language. And we do have appropriated, I think, $5,000 for legal services.
Do we really have
For
that?
And-
consultations,
Mhm. And I think that, the select board, I think, grants us discretion in its use. They've approved that amount for the board. I think any amounts in excess of that we would have to go to the select board for approval on. So, let me see, just a couple more.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, if you want to-
7.1 on page 4. The definition of another suitable meeting place
Oh.
is kind of amorphous.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard that.
So I will suggest another venue suitable to accommodate the public. And they were looking for examples such as Lyman Elementary, the Lyman Library, Goodwood Mills Fire Department, and maybe Rustic Dreams too.
And not limited to.
But again, access to the public. But, and there was a concern voiced about, Don's brilliant attachment 3, with all the minimum time requirements.
Oh, yeah.
That maybe some language that would make sure that we would not, if we had a 14-day time period, not make the request to post something 13 days into that time
Oh.
period.
Well,
So,
yeah.
and I said, we make those decisions to the postings during our meetings, and with the time period that we have to abide by in mind. But
Oh, I think you mean, in other words, telling or asking the town manager, or who has 3 positions, to put it on, telling her the day before it's due to be put on the sign
Right.
or something like that, or on the website.
Right, and I don't think we can do that, but.
I don't know. I mean,
But it would be, if this language would address it under 8.2, normal meetings agendas are to be expeditiously posted in accordance with state statute. Special meetings and workshops will be noted and posted expeditiously as per section 7.1 of this bylaw.
Well, that still comes back to this, but the only issue I have is that the problem is that some of this stuff is in the ordinance. I mean, I don't know why it has to be, but it is. It's in the ordinance, and some of it's in state law.
Right.
So what I was trying to do was to put it into one set of one document where we would cover the waterfront and maybe be a little more rigorous. I mean, not rigorous, but more conservative So we didn't get nailed for, not nailed, but accused of not letting somebody know because they didn't get the certified mail or something, give them plenty of time, which stretches us out. But if you don't do that, then somebody comes and says, well, I didn't get the thing. And the state law says this, and some of this is, so, I mean, I don't know, I'm not hung up on wording, but, I don't know what else to do. I mean, you can, if you say at least 2 weeks ahead of time or something, you could do it 3 weeks, but if you did it 1 week, you'd be in violation. You probably, depending on what the subject matter was, you could be in violation of state law. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have some way to do it easily and not have to go look it up each time.
Right.
That was the whole desire here. But,
It's very efficient
It-
and organized.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And I, like Joe said, the decision is made on the date at the meeting and it's recorded. So, I mean, the notice is out there.
well, but nobody looks at it.
Right.
But-
But that's
That's your fault.
That's not our fault, right? We
Well-
make the decision now, I mean, then it's posted.
Can I make a suggestion that we wait? And one thing I've got to say,
Yeah.
for the record, I think maybe I made a snide, it's my own fault probably, because I think I might have made a snide remark that nobody ever looks at these things anyway when I said something to the select board, because we've sent these things in before,
Mhm.
nothing, nada, zero. So now they're showing me, so it serves me right.
Which is good.
I would suggest we wait until we get the comments. I mean, I think
That sounds good.
Joe, for going there, I probably would have been a little more aggressive, but that's fine. I think,
Okay.
because they have the right to, town manager has the right to
Yeah.
change this if the town manager wants to, but that's up to them.
Mhm.
I don't have any heartburn with it.
Again, as you say, if the cover letter requested remarks back in writing,
Well, you do know bring me a rock theory, right? Have you heard that one? Well, I won't go into it, but I'm not playing to bring me a rock. I played out in the past a lot, business relationships and stuff. When you tell somebody something and they give you a comment, you keep going back to them, going back. They never give you their comments. They just give you suggestions. And you never satisfy them. You never get anything done. It takes forever. We don't want to do that.
No.
We got too much stuff coming in the door. Well, can I make one
What's
of
the next step with that?
I'm sorry?
What's the next step with making changes?
I
People are
think
gonna wait for
wait for feedback from the
feedback in
select
writing
board.
from them.
Yeah.
But, just we're aware.
It's easy
this
to
is
change.
Reported what their concerns were, which was the last time.
So there's no point in making any changes now.
Don't see so. Don't see it.
Brenda, you have a
I
question or
don't have
comment?
my shoreline book with me,
Oh, I
I'm
do.
sorry, but it does say on the land use chart, and I'm having a lot of issues with docks.
Oh,
And
God.
it does say that permanent docks have to go in front of the planning board.
And the DEP is something around it, right?
Yes.
CEO and planning board, permanent docks, you're right, page
So how do I get
13.
that in front of you? How do they make an application, how do I get that in front of you?
I don't think we had a dock application. That's new, that was a new addition.
Well, I guess,
I'm wondering if I can have them put it like on a building permit application.
Yeah.
and bring
Yeah.
that to you?
sure.
Yeah.
Is this one that's already been built? Or is it?
Oh,
It's just,
But
Yeah, we have a form for it, but
And they would need to show us the DEP approval. Because they have to have a good reason why it's permanent.
But permanent
Means it
would
never
tend
comes
to
up.
indicate that it has substantial base to it, so the ice can't move it. So you would have to have a construction of putting that in, and it would probably be concrete in the water.
And I was told that permanent is hard to prove, which means then it falls back onto me, I guess. But when you go
DEP,
down there and they're pounded into
yeah,
the water,
that's permanent.
I gotta say it's permanent.
Sure.
right, yes.
Yeah.
A neighbor, years ago, had a permanent dock and it was a really nice, well-constructed dock and the DEP made him remove it.
I
You
had
have
to
to take it
tell you, I had a class last Wednesday, CEO roundtable.
Oh, gosh.
And Jeff Kellenick, who's the big guru now he replaced Mike Morris. And I brought up that word, he says, we don't care, we're not interested.
Really?
So I don't know how we would handle that. DEP is AWOL these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they're not understaffed or they don't know. They don't care.
So I don't know what to, he said, if your town wants to deal with dogs, you go ahead, we don't care. That's exactly what he said.
Well, we just should follow what it says. If it's got pilings and they're not removable, then it's permanent.
It's permanent.
There's no two ways about it. I mean, if they're aluminum docks, you can pull out, right? And a lot of work,
If
but
they
you
build it out of wood, even if it's permanent, it's gonna be destroyed eventually.
yeah.
Right, but
Yeah, we have a wooden one, but it's floating.
Well, that's a different
We
story.
take it out every October it comes out.
And that's
then
why
May it goes
when they
back in.
call me, I say, does it go in the spring and out in the fall? If they say yes, then that falls into the end.
Right, that's a,
I don't see this one coming out in the fall.
No, not if it's pounded
I'm
in.
going to have them come to you. If you say, Brenda, you're wrong, then I just always want direction, so. Thank you.
Can I ask one other quick question? I don't how can I say this? I don't want to shoot another dead horse because we're already dead. But, I'm using my personal email and I use it a lot when we didn't have a code enforcement officer and that gap and we didn't have a clerk. And I think I mentioned this last meeting. I got a request for a FOIA request or whatever it is, FO. Do we want, anyway, I answered that. It's not an issue as far as I know, but do we want to request in writing to the select board to the town manager select board, the provision of emails for planning board members? Or is that more trouble than it's worth?
Should have them.
Because, I mean,
Absolutely should have.
normally, I don't use mine if I send something out to people to look at, I'll make it clear in there that it just is for review only or something. But I am using my personal email. But for a while there, because it's like when that gentleman with the subdivision without a road or something, remember that? We haven't seen him yet, but I was sending stuff back and forth to him because that's the only way I could do it. And I couldn't come in here and use it because I didn't have access. Plus, it's not convenient to come in here and act and pretend you're a clerk when you don't know what, I don't even know how to, I use my two fingers at home, okay? So if we want to get emails, we should ask for them and they can put it in the
I think they
budget.
should provide us with them.
But they won't do anything unless we ask in writing.
It was in this year's budget, I remember.
Was it?
It wasn't, okay.
I supported that highly because then everything of your personal is discoverable.
Yeah, and that's not right.
No, it's not right.
Yeah, right, that's an invasion on.
I mean, they'll find out all the stupid things I bought on Amazon. My God. Anyway,
It's convenient.
could someone maybe write a letter and ask this?
Well, if it's budgeted, then, do we need to? They need to put it in motion. If they're budgeted money for it, we have
You
a,
should express the statement that you want it done, I guess. I don't know how it's done. I don't know.
So the request
Right, you
probably
have
should come
authority.
from
You're
the
the
chairman
chair-
of the planning board.
chairman, yeah. Tell them we want,
It's an email.
yeah.
Online.
give
Yeah,
us
I'm not-
Email access, and then we can,
Yeah, no, because it really is. I mean, you're doing town business. They should provide you the email.
Yeah, and I don't want, I started thinking about it, this was a request about MMA or something, and I started looking through it. I don't have any, I just use it for reference and stuff, but, I didn't want to say, well, have somebody come in here and subpoena my records or something, and then I've got a problem because I missed something, or I'd rather have a town accountant just say, take a look at the darn thing. You got access.
Well, the advantage of the town account is the town always has full access to
Yeah.
everything that's in it. So they don't have to go to you and say.
They can
"No,
just
I
do a
need that."
search,
right.
They
Yeah.
can, yes.
which is fine with me.
Yeah.
Fine with me, I guess. I don't know. I'm not using it anyway, but if you don't want to do it, I'm just bringing it up. And if we want to do it, I suggest that we just write a note saying, please provide planning board members with town email accounts because they're doing official business and whatever.
Well, you'll get more than just email with that because you'll get Word, Excel, everything comes, it's all
Oh,
a
God.
license. You get the whole package.
And that's another issue, to do clerical work for us. We're all on different systems. I've got an old laptop and it doesn't even have an old
Right,
version of
but
Word.
see, it's Office 365. So
Oh,
Right.
if you're
We are the
connected to the
same.
internet you can even store
You
the
can use
documents in the cloud. You don't even
That's
have
so
to keep
nice.
them on your computer.
Right,
So there's a lot of advantage to it.
right.
And
we
that's
don't- we
included
have-
with a license. It all comes as a package.
We be on the same version of everything.
Yeah,
Because sometimes you would send us edits.
I
and some
think
of us
I'm
would
at
see them,
13 or something, of Word
Yeah,
13 or
yeah.
something. You're not.
13.
Is that 13?
You are behind.
No.
That's 10 years old.
I'm older than 10 years old, so I don't care, but I mean, it's, yeah, 13 is fine with me. I'm not, it's bad enough when when Microsoft starts upgrading by helping me and I can't find anything.
We're just excited that the 911 system for the state of Maine, they're actually doing an upgrade. We're gonna go through a training at the end of October. They're still using Internet Explorer.
Oh, boy.
Really?
Your bill.
And not using Edge?
No, no.
Wow.
Well,
We
to,
go on
AOL.
on Edge with a special patch thing that gets us.
Oh, my
to
God.
Explorer. Yeah,
But it's only good for 30 days. You gotta do it every 31 days.
Oh,
oh,
no,
jeez,
really?
give me a break.
Yeah.
Gosh, anyway,
It's
We're
fun.
gonna make a motion, we end the meeting.
sounds like an idea, a good
Okay.
idea.
Get us some emails.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. 2000.
Good meeting, thank you.
Is this like